Your researchers believe that North Korea is behind this.
No,
Why?
I think we definitely have produced some evidence that shows that the people that were involved in attacks that were linked to North Korea, some of the code that they use, some fragments of that attack are present in this attack. That doesn't mean North Korea did it. It means that there was fingerprints from the same kind of malware that was used in some of the attacks. Like the gentleman before me mentioned, I think the thing that would indicate that that may not be the case is the size of the ransom request does not track to the size of ransom request that that group usually requests.
So what does that mean?
They would link to the Bangladesh event, which was an $80 million story. And if you can get inside an enterprise and take over some of their systems and you're going to ransom them to get them back, usually the request is a lot higher than $300 US a Bitcoin. And so that fact doesn't help, I think, with that thesis, but you never know. And I think, what may be another case that is here is that some smaller group got a hold of this NSA vulnerability that was leaked by shadow brokers and wrote a more amateur piece of malware that got out of control on them, was really targeted at consumers, ended up in enterprises because the ransom request is not great. So there's a few theses that are being worked. It's not time to really call that. Law enforcement is all over this, and I think there's some things that we shouldn't talk about yet because we're on it. And but I think the other point that the gentleman made, which is important, Microsoft, and are they culpable for this, is definitely something we should talk about.
Are they?
I think that Microsoft have come a long way in recent years in hardening their operating system and hardening how they deliver patches. And really, this is about vulnerabilities. And vulnerabilities come, people become aware of them, and they patch them. And this is about IT and consumers being very quick to adopt the latest patches, whether it be an Apple product, a Google product on Android, a Microsoft product.
So you say you blocked 22 million infection attempts. So how many didn't you catch?
So, we had a very small number of customers call us that were reporting that they had an infection. And we're talking about a really small number in hundreds of thousands of enterprises that run our products. Our products were actually blocking this long ago. And we have some artificial intelligence in our products that blocked it without any help. They figured it out themselves in our artificial intelligence code and stopped it all by themselves in our latest products. And that's a big step forward in the industry. But I think that we have situations where other vendors may have been the defense there who also had blocks for it, but maybe weren't updated. And that's how things got out of hand in Europe.
So that's the lesson learned here, right? And the U.S. was largely unaffected. Why?
Yeah, and I think the U.S. was unaffected primarily, in our view, because the great researchers that got on this problem early and worked it found a situation in this malware that would turn it off and make it go dormant. And that was put in place on a Friday night. And so by the time people kind of woke up and the propagation got to the U.S., the malware was already sort of dealt with from a dormant's point of view. It might have still been propagating everywhere, but not destroying the end systems.
Do you expect spending on Symantec products to increase as a result of this?
Yeah, definitely. I think that every time there's a global event like this, it's a tailwind for cybersecurity firms. We fared very well in it, which is usually an increase in pipeline. We're starting to see that. I think the future is bright for us. Awareness is there, but I think we really are not the kind of firm that gets up and bashes our competitors or bashes the platform vendors. We're really here to try to fight cyber defense, cyber crime. We shared our information with the Cyber Threat Alliance, a thing that we're a member of that has all the other big network security players in it. And we shared that on Friday. So we are trying to help the whole industry. We're a good operator, and huge research investment in this area.
What trends are you seeing under President Trump? Are companies changing what they're spending? Is the threat landscape changing as a result of the actions of the Trump administration?
I would say that cyber criminals are somewhat emboldened, not just, I would say, by the Trump administration, really I think emboldened by some of the effectiveness of some of the attacks. We heard about some things in Saudi Arabia in January that were very concerning. These things, nation states operate on other nation states, even outside the U.S. There's more consequences in the U.S. But cyber criminals are a little bit more emboldened than what we've seen in the past. We produced our annual threat report a couple weeks ago. In there, we reported that ransomware is on a huge rise. It's up 36%. It's really targeted at consumers because they really have nowhere to go. There's no CIO. Mom's the CIO. And the average price has gone up to over $1,000 to repair. So this problem is rife. It is a way of making money for criminals, and it is definitely an effect on the enterprise, but also on consumers and their sort of digital safety, if you like.